Cool, hip, far out, on the money. Ask an average teenager today what these words mean, and you'll likely get a janky facial expression. But gas, tough, tight, the meta. These words are as natural for this generation as wearing Birkenstocks and white Nike socks. These are all synonyms for good that have changed in popularity over the past few decades. And it's just one example of one of the most interesting and insightful aspects of human language: slang. From Shakespearean times to the hippie counterculture of the 60s, to the evolution of hip hop since the 80s and 90s, to the Riz and Sigma craze of 2024, to the two numbers that will never, ever be named again. Slang has been a part of the regular human vernacular for as long as oral communications have existed. American University explains in a November 6, 2025 article that slang represents a change from below, rather than something that comes from the elites. Slang is a permanent aspect of society, even if it changes on a weekly basis. It is an important form of cultural expression, spreading fast and changing quickly amongst young people. So today, let's spend the next 6 or 7... No, never mind. Let's just spend some time getting all the deets on slang, by first understanding the history behind it, how it has impacted society today, and finally, looking at some potential implications of our colorful word choices. Before we look at how slang actually affects us, we need to understand where it comes from and its cultural significance today. PBS describes slang on their official website as the start of fancy imagination and humor, breathing into its nostrils the breath of life. This early definition of slang actually comes from American poet Walt Whitman. Now, Whitman lived in a time where America would be transformed by immigration, industrialization, and mass communications. He believed slang to be largely ephemeral and regenerative, meaning it changes based on the American youth. It did not come from the top, prestigious, scholarly literacy professors, but the people of our society, specifically the young people of our society, aka me. While some scholars say that slang can have a degrading effect on our culture, this discourse actually proves slang's power over everyday American English. The previously mentioned American University explains, because slang comes from the youth of today, it creates a sense of belonging, something that our society has immensely struggled with. This can be seen with every generation and every subculture. Take Woodstock, for example, the 1960s music festival. It made the phrase "out of sight" extremely popular and even defined the hippie movement. Today, this phrase is rarely seen in our vernacular. So let that be a lesson to us all. Before we run out and get the words "no cap" tattooed somewhere overly visible, it's entirely likely that in just a few years or even months, no one will remember what that means. Thank goodness. My mom was getting a little too adventurous on Facebook. So now that we understand where slang originates and how it has evolved in our everyday speech, what are the impacts? First, we'll go over how it affects your brain. Second, its use in the classroom. And third, its effects on the workplace. Now, it's no secret that learning a new language can provide benefits to your brain. According to a 2025 study done by the University of McGill, slang has the same effects on our brains as any other non-native language. These effects include the increasing of neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to quickly respond, recover, and even retain new information. So now that we know the brain effects of slang, what about its use in the classroom? Well, in another study done by Cambridge University in 2022, a group of children, including those that were both monolingual and bilingual, were read a series of digits and asked to recall them in reverse order. The bilingual children scored higher than the monolingual children every single time. In addition to this, the bilingual children also performed better academically, had more alertness and focus in class, and even exhibited more creativity in problem solving. The study goes on to say that slang gave these children the same benefits as any other foreign languages did as well. But relying too much on slang can negatively impact professionalism. It's very common for this generation to blur the lines between their casual and work lives. often catching a bad reputation for not being able to communicate with clear and concise language. Devastatingly enough, some even report being fired for this issue, which is definitely not on my 2026 resolution. Come on, I work in Chipotle. So now that we understand slang's evolution over the past few decades and some of its current effects it's having on our society, there leaves one other question. What about our future? We'll look at two implications. First, creating a sense of belonging, and second, developments in foreign languages. Education Week of July 1st, 2024 reports that teachers can even use slang to help motivate their students. Take the phrase lock in, for example. While initially coming from professional video gamers to help motivate themselves in gaming, it has become widespread. Teachers can remind their students they need to lock in on their schoolwork. In fact, in a study they did, 40% of teachers agreed that slang helps students respect language and express themselves. And the other 60% said, "Get off my lawn." Let's just say I got my cardio in that day. Second, slang isn't a solely American phenomenon. It occurs across the world with every language and every country. According to Duolingo, on November 11th, 2025, slang's impacts transferred to any other languages that you may also speak. For instance, in Vietnam, which is a part of my heritage, Gen Z slang is widely used among the youth. But this can create a conflict between change and preservation. On one hand, slang represents growth to linguistic integrity, and on the other, strict Asian parents are genuinely questioning their child's sanity or their ability to become a doctor. Though there's no true way to predict what slang will be, using it can either help evolve language or create a social divide in education and even culture. So today, we examine slang's rich history, how it has impacted society, and finally, some potential implications. It is crucial that society views slang with a sense of permanence and appreciates its constant evolution. Though speaking in slang may cause others to perceive you as less competent or too informal, don't let this deter you from speaking it altogether. Just remember that slang is a mix of cultural impacts, media trends, and self expression. And to think of it any less than that is simply whack.